1-minute countdown. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining our webinar, Using Davis Advantage to Create a Path Through Pathophysiology. My name is Jackie White. I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at FA Davis today. And before we jump into our wonderful presentation, I wanted to cover a quick couple housekeeping items. So if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, we definitely want to hear from you. We want to keep today interactive. I know people attending, you might be using Davis Advantage, you might actually just be interested in Davis Advantage, whatever Davis Advantage is right now in your course, class, or curriculum, or even thoughts. We definitely want to hear from you. So questions go in the Q&A box. The Q&A box is located at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So make sure you utilize that through the presentation. We will get to your questions at the end. So I am super excited for our faculty spotlight. I know that I introduced myself, but the star of the show today is Kim Harding. She is a Davis Advantage user, and she is here to host and share her experiences with teaching pathophysiology, really identifying that path. She's here to talk about how she uses Davis Advantage in the classroom, give some of the insights of how she's using it, some of the student feedback, and hopefully some of the successes that she's seen in the classroom. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Kim to take the stage and talk about creating a path through pathophysiology with Davis Advantage.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and thanks for that nice introduction, Jackie. As she said, I'm Kim Harding, and I teach at Colorado Mountain College. And just so you know my background a little bit with pathophysiology, I currently teach a 200-level pathophysiology class, primarily for nursing students working on their bachelor's degrees. And to be upfront, I did help design the Davis Advantage pathophysiology materials. However, I have not told my students this at all, simply because I wanted their unbiased feedback. So any of the feedback I relate to you that is coming from students is not because they were trying to win my favor or anything such as that. It's really their opinion of what I consider to be one of the most helpful programs I have come across as a college instructor. So why is a path through pathophysiology needed? And if you've been teaching this course for a while, like I have, you know a path is needed. It can be a difficult course simply because you have one semester course for all of this material versus, as we know, anatomy and physiology, which is a 2-semester course. So simply the amount of content, you have to try and be as efficient as you can through the material. And then I don't know about you, I'm constantly feeling this balancing act. All the details of the major diseases, the sense that students feel like they have to memorize everything, and certainly memorization plays its role, but then sometimes you feel like they're losing the big picture issues. And there's one case study I do that deals with a trauma victim who's been stabbed, and the laboratory results show she has slightly elevated blood glucose levels. And I swear to goodness, some of my students, because they hear high blood glucose, immediately think diabetes. And as I write there, sometimes your entire teaching career flashes before your eyes because you need them to understand it's part of the stress response. And I feel pathophysiology, the Davis Advantage program, helps you balance those specific details without losing sight of the overall picture. And I feel that's one of the greatest challenges we face when we teach pathophysiology. And then simply the level of complexity, the clinical thinking skills, the synthesis of ideas, and really going from organ to systemic responses and making sure students can track that. And I have found Davis Advantage to be a huge benefit to doing this successfully. So why bother packing for this journey through pathophysiology? I don't know how you feel, but I think it's one of the most rewarding courses for my students and also myself as an instructor. Sometimes when my students are in this class, they're like, oh, this is why I took all of those prerequisites. Absolutely. You need to know all the basic anatomy and physiology, the microbiology, but it all comes together in pathophysiology. And I'll say, and you maybe see this as well, that most students are more interested in the disease state rather than the normal state. Normal's great, you have to understand the normal, but they're really intrigued by the disease process. And thankfully this class is where you finally get to integrate those ideas, okay? And it's also usually exciting. Students are further along in the program, they have a lot more background information, and Davis Advantage helps you synthesize that information with them. Okay. One of the things I most enjoy is the multiple routes to meet multiple needs. And in these coming slides, I'm going to talk to you about how you can set up the multiple routes to make sure your class needs, and your needs, quite honestly, as an instructor, are being met. So this is the pathway overview of Davis Advantage. And if you look there at the bottom, certainly personalized learning, interactive practice, dynamic content, and active classroom, we will touch on all of these. Those are, in my mind, the overall goals of why this program was created. But what I would like to do is take you through the nuts and bolts of how each of these factors was or is being addressed. And first of all, a textbook does accompany this program, so it's integrated with the textbooks the students can purchase. There's a hardcover version and then also an ebook version that accompanies Davis Advantage. Most of my students, quite honestly, just end up purchasing Davis Advantage along with the ebook. They don't get the hardcover book. And then I put up there, no complaints so far, smiley face, because if your students are like mine, you know if they are at all displeased with the textbook, you'll hear about it. I've not heard any complaints. I think the content is right where the student needs it to be, without losing a lot of depth or breadth, because pathophysiology, just by its nature, is a very broad, deep subject matter, and you really don't want to be losing that content. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of Davis Advantage. Within every topic, there's going to be a pre-test, a video, an activity, and a post-test. On the coming slides, I'm going to talk to you about exactly what each of these things are and sort of how they manifest. But for right now, just know for every topic you're going to look at, you're going to have 4 things that are associated with it. One of the things I most enjoy is that you get to choose the topics you want to use. In my experience, unlike anatomy and physiology, which it doesn't really matter almost what publisher you're going through or which textbook, the sequence is pretty standard, bones and then muscles and nerves and so on. When I was looking around for a pathophysiology component, I saw so many different versions as far as what chapters began the textbooks, which chapters were emphasized, and so on. This is the nature of the beast, if you will. Different instructors have a different approach to pathophysiology. The great thing about Davis Advantage is you get to choose your topics, and then you also get to choose the order of your topics. So it can be very relevant to how you want to teach. And this helps address some of the variabilities. Sometimes there's different things you want to emphasize, and quite honestly, sometimes you're teaching classes that have different semester lengths. I know I teach in the summer, and that is a 4-week less course than normally what's in our fall and spring semesters. I need that adaptability for when the semester length changes. And one of the huge advantages is once you have a format that you like, it is so easy. You literally just clone that semester, move it into the next semester's content area, and basically you're all set and ready to go. So each semester, it's not like you're building from scratch. Once you have a format that works, you just go ahead and clone it and then use it in future semesters. All right, let's talk about how you can do some of this, okay? Selecting content, you choose. And I don't know if you can see this very well, but these are all the different topic areas. And if you look right here, it says preview. You can literally click on this. It will show you the video available, the activity available, etc. And then whether you want to keep that or not, you simply come over here and hit on or off. So if I want to keep this subject in, I leave the on. If I want to take this subject out, I just click it off, and it does not appear for my students. So it's no time and energy on your part trying to make sure students focus on what you want them to focus on. You eliminate those things you don't want to have in your course. The other thing I really love is that you get to choose the order of the topics and how your students complete them. For example, I do a great case study that has a lot of fluid and electrolytes and acid-base balance issues, and it actually deals with diabetic ketoacidosis. So after acid-base balance, I actually bring up the diabetes chapter, and we do that. That's like, I think, chapter 25, but we end up doing it like in week 3 or so of the semester simply because it makes sense to me within the sequence of some of the other topics I'm teaching. All you have to do is pick a topic and drag it and move it to the new location, and then that sequence is set, and that's the sequence your students see. So they're not confused by the order that you're working in. Okay, and then for each semester or course, however you want to look at it, you just simply set the due dates. I always have the start date the same for each of the topics I've assigned, and then set a specific due date. So week by week, different assignments are due. And then at the end of it all, you can view your class summary just to double check. Make sure you got the dates, make sure you have your topics, everything in the order that you're seeking, and go ahead and print that out or somehow, copy it however you would like to handle that information. But it's a great way to, with all the manipulations you may be doing, to make sure at the end of it all, the class is set up exactly as you would like. Okay. One of the wonderful things I think about with Davis Advantage, because again, I don't know how you teach, what formats you use, but I do a lot of online instruction. And you do know sometimes when you're choosing things, digital content and stuff, or a program such as this, you always worry how much management it's going to take from you. If the students are confused or if they're having problems logging in, all of that. That has been very, very easy with Davis Advantage, simply because, as I say here, it's a self-contained map for students, okay? The format for each topic stays the same. So it's a very short learning curve. Once they get the first topic dialed in, they're then like, oh, I get how we're going to progress through all of these topics, okay? There's little problem navigating it, and there's clear, timely feedback. And I put here, who doesn't love a thumbs up or thumbs down? This is just some data I photographed or took an image of, if you will, for 2 of my students. And if you remember the 4 things with Davis Advantage, a pre-test, a video, an activity, and a post-test, the students get timely feedback. As they do the pre-test, you see these 2 students got a thumbs down, and that makes sense. They haven't worked with any of this material at all. Once they do the video, they get a green thumbs up. Okay, that's completed. Once they do the activity, another green thumbs up. And then they do a post-assessment, and it gives them also a thumbs up so this is really a great self-assessment at the end of doing these other activities. And it'll show you progress, that they completed 100% of the things. And I really love this. It'll also show the time spent on these topics. So you can realize, okay, if a student's complaining, wow, I don't like it, it's confusing, and you see they've only spent 3 minutes on it, it allows you to say, well, I don't know if you spent enough time on that. Likewise, if you're getting results back and it seems to be taking them hours and hours to successfully complete this, it usually never does, but let's just say that was the situation, it allows you to know as a teacher, okay, it's taking them a long time to get through the post-test, even with the video and activity, I really need to work on this material more with them in class. Okay, I just briefly talked about this already. I do teach a lot of distance learning courses, probably at least 100 students per year, and I've had literally very, very few issues with this type of format, integrating Davis Advantage with online learning. And I think that's one of the advantages if you are in that type of instructional format, because you do worry how much management it will require on your end if distance learning students are confused about a digital format. So I've briefly already talked to you about these 4 things, the pre-test, video, activity, and post-test. I'd like to take a few minutes and break this down a little bit more. The pre-test is an initial assessment. That makes sense. Usually, again, most students get a red thumbs down. Provides motivation. If they had any fantasy that they knew this already, I think sometimes getting that thumbs down shows, wow, I really don't know this material as well as I thought. I'll talk a little bit more about the video and the activity, and then the post-test, which I briefly talked to you about. It allows students to self-assess, and it also holds them accountable for really doing the video and the activity. You're not going to pass the post-test without spending the proper time as you should on the video and activity. And I will say when I wrote this, that the post-test should be somewhat challenging and make sure they are learning the material at the level we would expect. The students can take the post-test several times so they can sort of learn as they go along as they adapt to the feedback they're getting if the post-test is not being successfully completed. And also, I did not point this out on the last slide, but the post-test results for a class enables you as an instructor to get feedback. If you see a lot of thumbs down or an indication, as I said, it's taking students a long time to complete this topic, it does give you an indication in class that you maybe need to spend some more time, that students are struggling with it a little bit. Okay. Oh goodness, when I first was asked by F.A. Davis to work on this project, and I said, great, I do think there's desperate need for some great pathophysiology materials out there and support materials for instructor, I was so excited. And then they told me the videos had to be 5 minutes at most, maybe 5 to 6 minutes. And as an instructor, of course, I was thinking, you have to be kidding me. How much pathophysiology can be covered in 5 minutes? And actually, I learned you can cover quite a lot of the key ideas in 5 minutes or less. I was absolutely thrilled with how these came out and how much they've helped my teaching. I have to say, and again, my students don't know I helped with this, they have loved these videos. They don't see them as a waste of time. I mean, we all know this. I'm guilty of this on YouTube. You choose an 11, 12-minute video and you're 3 minutes into it and you're already, distracted or whatever. Being in 5 or 6 minutes, they do not feel like they're wasting their time. And because they're 5, 6 minutes long, they can just watch them again and again. I have students say sometimes they just have them playing on the background when they're cooking dinner or something, trying to learn that way and use their time accordingly. And when students said, I'm finally learning something, not just going through the motions when I do this. And I think there are other things available to instructors where students begin to feel as if they're just going through the motions and not really learning. From at least what I've heard, these videos make sure students are learning. A few things with this. I do think these videos so help you as an instructor. But, in 5 minutes, as much as I've loved these videos and think we cover such a great amount of detail, not everything's going to be covered in 5 minutes. And you may or may not agree with the content chosen for those 5 minutes. Maybe something else in that chapter you thought should have made it to that video. There were times I had issues with things that made it or didn't make it into the video. But overall, these are the advantages to these videos. They're a great reference point for the material. You can say as an instructor, hey, did you guys see that in that video? I'd like to explain this a bit more, or go back and rewatch that part in the video. That will really help your understanding. It enables coverage of details that class time may limit. Certain things can be handled by the video. That means you can spend less time on it in your lecture, okay? Students miss class, these videos are golden. It really allows them at least to get some content. Enables review away from class, and you can use your time more efficiently. One thing I do want to point out my students have really loved is that with the video, if you click on view transcript underneath it, you get to see the entire transcript. I've had students cut and paste and copy those and print them out and use them for review materials. And then obviously the video is also closed captioned. Okay. The other thing that is huge, I feel, with Davis Advantage are the activities we have created to go along with every video, okay? And when I created these activities, sometimes if I felt, wow, the chapter was much broader than what we use the video content for, this is where I push the content area for the students. So the activity, the content will oftentimes extend and broaden out beyond that video content to really be more comprehensive as far as how the chapter is covered, okay? Reinforces the topic also learned in the video, but a variety of formats. I'm so excited about this because it's not the same thing topic after topic. Oh, I do matching or I do a case study. Literally, we try to vary it quite a bit between the different options associated with each activity. And then the other thing I love are students that are able to check answers and receive feedback in real time. Let's say this little case scenario, I drag this answer down here. There's a little button over here that says check feedback. And if the student got it incorrect, there's a little summary statement of what the student needs to think about in order to learn that material correctly. Okay, so all of this is great, but you're also sort of wondering, okay, how do I incorporate this into my classroom? I just want to point out what I do. There are 4 things associated with every Davis topic, pre-test, video, activity, and post-test. And I just award 20 points, 5 points each for each of those things that are completed. Even if a student receives a thumbs up for the pre-test, I actually ask them to go ahead and complete everything. And so it's a quick, easy way to give some points, if you will, for them completing this work. So that's just my suggestion. Okay. As far as integrating it with the classroom, you may think, wow, this is a great program, but how do I really use it in my classroom? This is an advantage of Davis Advantage, the pathophysiology. You can choose how you'd like to incorporate it, and I've tried all of these different formats, and it really incorporates seamlessly. Sometimes I've used it as a pre-lecture assignment. I tell the students, I expect you to have all of this done prior to coming to class because I'm going to build off of this material. At other times, I've actually watched the video in class, and we've actually done some of the activity. I find it a great way to wake everyone up versus just listening to me lecture. I'll say, okay, let's put in that video. Let's do this activity a little bit as a class, see how we're thinking. Do we have any questions? And because the video is so short, it's a great incorporation. Other times I lecture on the material and then tell them, go do the Davis Advantage thing, the lecture, what we covered should support your work in that way. Let me know if you have any questions. And certainly excellent review for quizzes and exam preparation. Okay. We really created this, I believe, in a way to help you manage a class and be the instructor that you wanted to be with such a complex topic as pathophysiology. One of the things that I do like about the videos and activities, they can serve as standalones. There are some of the topics where I'll say, like cell injury or something, I don't want to spend a lot of time at the beginning of the semester saying you need to learn this material from the video and the activity. I'm not going to take up a lot of my lecture time going over it. Great reference point for the class. You sometimes are looking for that common ground when you try to relate ideas to students. A great thing to say is, okay, I know you all saw this in the FA Davis, the Davis Advantage video, okay? And then using the post-test results to determine where you students may need some more help, okay? And then finally, one of the things I am so excited about, and I don't know if we knew it was going to be this successful, and I love them in my classroom setting, are personalized teaching plans, okay? Like I write here, we all want to be great teachers. Sometimes we have a good idea on how to do that. Sometimes it can feel a little bit more challenging to really become the teacher that we want to become. And with all the material required in pathophysiology, it's difficult to try and come up with additional teaching, learning activities. And now you don't need to do that because Davis Advantage has created these for you. And basically, if you go over here, like this topic, cell injury and adaptations, okay, if you go here, okay, you see this PTP, personalized teaching plan. These come with literally every topic, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about these, okay. For every topic, you get 3 short teaching and learning activities. I just find that amazing because sometimes, if it's only one topic, or one teaching activity, if it doesn't resonate with you, or if you're like looking at your class, you're like, oh, they're never going to want to do that, then you just feel discouraged. By having 3 short teaching learning activities, you get to choose a little bit within those 3, which ones will resonate most with your class. And these are so easy. It's an easy to download and print PDF. I literally just print, it says right here, like view PDF. I view the PDF. I print all of these. Then I just literally have this stack of teaching ideas for my classroom. And an even greater benefit, all the answers are provided for you as an instructor. We took the time and energy to come up with the answer keys simply because there's no fun. You're scrambling a little bit, if you will, before class. You're trying to do this teaching activity. You're wondering how it's going. Now you're trying to scramble. You know the material, but based on how the question was written, you're not really sure what the author was getting at, so now you're a little confused. This way, all the answers are there for you. You just print and go, and you can feel very confident introducing these to your class. I love this. One teacher has commented to us that these PTPs enabled her to be the teacher she desired to be. And I thought that was such a gift, that comment was. So, similar to the activities, we really wanted to make sure it was not boring and repetitive. So for each topic in the 3 activities, all 3 are in a different format, and then across the different topics, we tried to use a range of formats. We created mini case studies. We have the students creating patient scenarios. We did laboratory reviews, fill in the tables, concept maps. all of this. And basically, like, here's a couple of examples here, doing a concept map. All these terms are here. You have the students make a concept map using these. Here are some little scenarios, patient scenarios, okay, and then you start asking your class, what do you think about this patient? What are you going to be concerned about this patient? It's a great way to stimulate class discussion versus asking, does anyone have any questions? And of course, everyone sits there. Let me talk about how I use these, okay? There's a variety of ways you can approach these PTPs. Again, I've done all of these, and all of them work really well. Sometimes I use it as an introductory at the beginning of class before we even lecture on the topic. I say, hey, here's a little case scenario, get out your book, whatever. Start thinking about this, because this is what we're going to be lecturing on today, and I want your thoughts already going in this direction. Sometimes I use it as an introductory activity at the beginning of class as a review of what we covered last class. Let's say we're doing the heart, and last class we talked about basic cardiac function, and now we're going to move on into some more complex disease states. I'll bring up the activities associated with cardiac function, say, hey, we're going to review these, so again, our minds are all in the right place before we can begin building on this material. Sometimes I'll use it when a break is needed during a class. Sometimes I think my classes are 2 hours, and sometimes you just need a break from the lecture and things like that. So I'll print one of these off, hand out the student sheet, give them 10 to 15 minutes to work on these activities. Sometimes they're not all the way completed, but it doesn't matter. At least we're thinking about things, we're having some discussions, we're having good questions. And then sometimes we complete the entire activity, and sometimes we simply use it to generate thinking, okay? And then sometimes I'll use them after I lecture on the topic, say, okay, this is going to be a great test to see what you know about this. Let's go ahead and do this for a few minutes and see where we are with this material, okay? These are the benefits. I love having an easy-to-use option that I can just print off and feel confident, ready to go. My students have enjoyed these activities. Again, it helps them understand where they may be lacking some understanding, and it's really driven some great questions and discussions, okay? They are an excellent review for exam preparation. So if you're at that point, we need to review for the exam, pull some of these out, give them to your students, and it'll be a great way to help them review for the exam. And they do help the class as a whole, I believe, synthesize the ideas as a class. Okay. As I've been saying throughout, for me, the best part of Davis Advantage is the flexibility and the multi-level approach. I choose my content, the order of it. I know my students are being supported in addition to what I'm doing for them in class. The learning curve is small, and I believe Davis Advantage provides context, not just mindless activities or content. I think there are some options available to us as instructors where, again, students do feel overwhelmed because it's just all this content, 200 multiple choice review questions over a chapter. That's fine, but it's not helping them learn and really synthesize the ideas. I feel Davis Advantage, this pathophysiology program, is set so they don't lose, that actually helps them build context. That's the greatest strategy. It's not sometimes just the learning the content, it's building that context of understanding. And then finally, I've received great support as an instructor, and as well as the students in using this program if there's any problems. So I guess that was my little scenario. As I said, and it's not simply because I helped participate in creating this. I was so excited and thankful to be given that opportunity because I felt there was such a need in the world of instructing pathophysiology for additional help and support for teachers and students. And I feel this really addresses those needs. So thank you so much for listening. And Jackie, I will pass it back to you.
Thanks, Kim, so much. We appreciate you hosting our faculty spotlight. I just wanted to give the opportunity to anybody that is attending. If you have any questions, I'll give you a minute to put them in the Q&A box now. But it's not the only avenue for you to ask us questions or for you to access Davis Advantage. So if you're interested in reviewing Davis Advantage yourself, Kim did such a good job of really showing us how she implements it in the classroom and how she uses it with our students. But if you want a one-on-one demo with one of our e-learning specialists, they can help you set up your class. They can help you navigate the content and also see how it works for you and how it can fit what you're looking for. So email us at davisadvantage@fadavis.com, or you could always visit our website, davisadvantage.com. We can make sure to set you up and help you get started so that it's easy to use and easy to implement, just as Kim showed us today. Also, if you have questions for Kim, you did really such a great job. I know that we have a lot of Patho instructors on the phone, so if there's questions that you have for Kim of something that you wanted help with, Kim's email address is there as well. So let me see if we just have any questions that rolled in. Okay, Kim, so one question that came in is if you found Davis Advantage easy to use and implement.
Yes, extremely, and simply because it stays consistent for the students from topic to topic. So I can look at it from both ends. It is so very easy to set up my instructional content, and as I said, once I have a sequence of the topics that I like, I can just move it from semester to semester. If my semester length varies between like summer and fall, it is absolutely not an issue to change around content to address that. So it's easy for me to set up as an instructor, and then I have to say it's been so easy for my students because it is consistent from topic to topic. And I mean this in a joking way, but we can all relate. Believe me, if my students were having hassles or did not like this program at all, I would certainly be hearing about it. And they've had really no issues, or if there has been a slight problem, F.A. Davis has been very responsive in helping them correct any issues that they may have. So very, very easy to set up.
All right, thanks, Kim. I think that closes all the questions that we got so far, but like I said before, we definitely want to hear from you. If you think of questions after the presentation or additional support, we are happy to help. Also, thanks again to Kim. You did such a wonderful job, and we really appreciate you taking the lead on our faculty spotlight and really showcasing us how to create a path through pathophysiology. So thanks again.
Great, and thanks for everyone for attending. I really hope you consider using this. In my mind, it will transform your teaching of pathophys. So have a great day, everyone.